Rev up your engines!
Sony, Sony, the big electronics company, rendering a Vision S crossover. Take a look at it. SUV, right? They're showing off the sleek design. But at the same time, Sony says it's not looking to enter the car building business. They're showing these pictures of Sony Vision S crossover, but they say they're not going to get into the car business. Then what the heck are they doing this for? Have they lost their minds? They adamantly say we're not getting into the car building business. Then they show a car that they're designing. I don't know. I guess what do they become like second graders? They're designing a car. Oh, gee, look at that cool little car. It just totally amazes me. I don't know. The world's gone crazy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, they make very good electronics, and of course, if they made a car, it'd be an electric car, obviously, Just like Panasonic makes a lot of batteries for cars and stuff. But what's the point of designing a car and then saying we're not getting in the car building business? I really don't understand it anymore. The world's gone haywire. 1968 says, Scotty, I'm poor and need a good car I can drive for a long time. I'm 6'5", and I don't like CVTs. Do you think a Honda Fit would be good with a manual transmission? Those are great cars, and they do have a lot of room. They're real spacey inside. They were originally designed for people in California. They did tests out there to see what people wanted that went to the beach and stuff. And they are tall inside. I got a customer who's 6'7" who owns one. He fits in perfectly fine. That is a decent choice. There's a lot of room in it. There's a lot more room in one of those than you're going to find like in a Toyota Corolla or something. And they're really well made. With a standard transmission, they can run forever with very little problems as long as you change the oil regularly. I see people that don't change the oil and they ruin the variable valve timing system and clog it all up. Change the oil a lot in those and they'll last a long time. Maggie One says, hey Scotty, what do you think about a 2002 Mitsubishi Montero Sport? Should I buy it or not? Not. Those are the vehicles that you buy if you actually have to have one and you're nuts about it. You buy them brand new and drive them, and when they get 100,000 miles, you get rid of them. Many customers have those vehicles. The ones that brought them new and got rid of them, they were relatively happy with the vehicles. The ones that bought them used, especially with 100,000 miles or more, they hated the cars. They were endless money pits. They spent a fortune on those things. Their engines are weak. Their automatic transmissions are weak. They look cool because they're big SUVs, but they don't hold up over time. Do not buy a used one unless you're getting one that's got 30, 40, 50,000 miles and you're getting it cheap and you're going to drive it for a certain period of time. Go right ahead. But as a general rule of thumb, don't buy one of those things used with any kind of serious mileage on it. Greg Ballard says, I recently found out that basically all the aftermarket wheels are made in China. My question is, are OEM wheels also made in China? Are Chevy wheels Chinese or American? How about Ford? Feel I can never buy aftermarket wheels again. A lot of the companies do buy them from China. You're going to have a heck of a time trying to figure out where they buy them from because they want to hide all that stuff. They don't want you to know that they're buying them from a cheaper source so they can make more money selling you the car. And then, oh, well, those are the fancy wheels. That's an extra $1,500 and they pay like $200 or less. Well, that's their game, Understand one thing about China. The Chinese can make some excellent metal products. If you want to look at a little history, the Chinese have been making metal for thousands of years. They're very good at metallurgy. I have many Chinese things in my garage that are metal that I've had for decades. The jacks, presses. I got a 22-ton press that's made in China. The steel in it is perfectly strong. It doesn't bend. I can press like mad and it works great. I have an engine puller they got from Harbor Freight Tools. It was made in China. It's never bent when I pulled the engines out. It's well made. It's steel. Steel. It's not all that complex to make. People have been making it and they've been making it for a long time. So there's really nothing wrong if you get it from a quality company in China. That's the only problem. You don't want to buy junk. You want to buy good stuff. And there are plenty of good companies that make metal products in China. I wouldn't poo-poo that. I do a little research before I'd buy any particular ones myself. And then again, really, I'm so cheap, I'll go to a junkyard, not buy used ones. They don't get that much for used rims in a junkyard, and I got older cars. If I ever need one, I just go to a junkyard, buy rims there. That's the best way to go. They're just sitting there. Like, if they got aluminum rims, their choice is to sell you it, whatever, or to melt it down for the aluminum. And I know a guy who shut his place down years ago, and the only thing he could do with all his leftovers was sell them for scrap aluminum, and something that, was a $400 rim, he got like $10 of aluminum for it, so he wasn't that happy. David Mastered 99 says, Scotty, my right rear strut is worn out. I hear a clunk when I go over bumps, cornering. Is it true I have to replace both rear struts if I need one? And what about the front struts? All right, you can do whatever you want. Now, if you hear an actual clunk, a lot of times that's the strut mount. It's all one big piece, and the top is called the strut mount. And it's rubber on the top. The rubber eventually rips and it will clunk. So you'd want to check that too. You can do whatever you want. It's your own car. I tell people, generally the way most guys drive, the right-hand side of the car is what hits the pothole because you're sitting on the left. You see a pothole, you move out of the way, but you don't see the one in front of the right. So the right side of the suspension gets beat up a lot more than the left side. You could just change that strut, but if you're changing that strut, I would advise you to also change the strut mount on it and then see what happens. You can then drive it around, see how it rides. If it rides weird, then you can change the left side. The left and the right side are completely different jobs, so you could do the left later. You're not going to waste any more time or energy doing one and then the other, and if it rides okay. And the same thing for the front struts. South 6666 says, Scotty, 2010 Ford Taurus, 85,000 miles. Should I flush my coolant or just drain and fill? It's old, I would flush it. It's 10 years old. Coolant on that should be changed about every 5 years. If you've never changed it, flush it out. Now, you can easily do it yourself. Just remove the thermostat. Then you can get a hose. You can flush it all through and replace it all. If you're more of a fanatic about maintaining your car, if, say, every 4 or 5 years, you were just changing it out, you could heat it up good, then let it cool down for maybe 20 minutes, then drain it out. Most of it will come out and refill it, and that'd be okay. But you haven't done that, so I'd flush it out now. Ilyalit says, Scotty, I got a 2010 base model Pontiac Vibe, front-wheel drive with auto. It has 110,000 miles. Never done anything major. My track engine light came on the other day. I don't have a scan tool. I wonder if it's worth getting one before I go anything. It drives fine and runs good. Coolant is low. I'm not sure if that affects the check engine light. All right. Those are great cars. You know, they're basically Toyota Corollas. Go to AutoZone. They scan them free. Or buy a cheap scan tool. You can get a $30 scan tool that'll give you the codes. Email me the codes here. I can analyze them. It's running good. It could be something as stupid as the gas cap's worn or it's loose. On those cars, the software, it's the Toyota software. If the check engine light comes on, it will automatically turn the track off and make that light come on and stuff flash. That's a software thing that if it sees there's a problem, it turns the traction control off because then it's not working right. It's dangerous. You know, these engineers and lawyers got together on that one. Just get it scanned. You can go to Amazon, buy a $30 scan tool. It'll give you the information for that. You don't need a real fancy one. And or go to AutoZone, let them scan it. They'll even analyze it, but you know, they're not as sharp as I am. You can just email me the codes and I'll tell you. William the Concord says, I had my car worked on, 2011 Camaro, and after they worked on my front, on my ABS and traction control lights are on. And it's got the code for steering position signal malfunction and steering position signal calibration not programmed. They worked on your car, did front end work. If they didn't align it right and the alignment's now off, that's going to change the steering sensor angle. And that's exactly what will happen. Take it back. Tell them, make sure that car's aligned correctly. Because the only things that I've ever seen happen when somebody works on the car and you get it back and all of a sudden these codes pop up that didn't pop up before, they mess something up. Now, if they did any kind of work on the steering wheel, they could have damaged the steering angle sensor that measures where it's at. I've seen that happen. When you're driving straight, the steering angle sensor should be 0 degrees. Any mechanic, I would go somewhere else first, try to pull a fast one on you, and say, can you check my steering angle sensor? All they're going to do is plug in their scan tool and drive it. When they're going straight, if it doesn't say 0, then there's something wrong. You can go back to those guys and say, you messed up, fix it, and I'm not paying any more money for that job because you didn't do it right in the first place. Since everything's measured by that sensor, if they messed it up somewhat and it's off, computer's going to know it's off and trip that code. So start there. Have another mechanic drive it, check the steering angle sensor on a scan tool. And if it isn't 0, when it's going straight, take it back to the guys that did the work and make them do it correctly. Larry Lumpson's Lost It All says, I got a 2003 Ford Econoline V8. The first time I step on the brakes, it falls down. Then it works right. Generally, one of two things do that. What you want to do is you want to look at all the wheels on the inside. It's a van, it's high enough. Just crawl under there and look on the inside of the wheels. If any of them are wet, then those are leaking. Pull out the wheels, see if the caliper's leaking or any of the hoses are leaking. Check that first. But if you don't see leaks anywhere, and of course park on a dry part of cement and look and see if any of the lines are rotted. It's what? You know, it's an older car. It's almost 20 years old. See if any metal lines are rotted. But if they aren't, 99% of that time means the brake master cylinder's going bad because the first first time you pump, if it's going bad, it can go down, but then it builds the pressure up. The seals get old, and then once you start using them, the car heats up and the brakes warm up, then the seals get swollen up a little bit more and it doesn't sink anymore. You don't see any leaks? Odds are you need a brake master cylinder on that job.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.